Is everybody ready?
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome everybody to the committee meeting of the whole of Walton Hills, Tuesday, September 15th, 2020 at 7:02 p.m. This meeting is being live streamed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We are following Substitute House Bill 197 provisions that relate to public meetings and hearings during the COVID-19 pandemic. That was our call to order. Item number 2, well, one more item, just so residents know, the link to this meeting is on the village website, also on the village Facebook page, and you can type in questions if you have any questions related to the agenda, and also other things if something comes up. We'll go through it and we'll ask Angela if there's any questions from residents or anybody watching our meeting. Number 2, roll call.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Here.
Councilman Linville.
Present.
Councilwoman Allen.
Here.
Councilwoman Terlasky.
Here.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Here.
Councilman Whedon.
Present. All of council present, along with our tax administrator, Angela Rive, and our law solicitor, John Montello. Can I get a motion to approve the September 1st, 2020 COW meeting minutes?
I'd like to make a motion, we approve the minutes of the September 1st it is?
The
2020
yes,
COW meeting.
correct.
Second.
Second by, okay, first by Mr. Linville, second by Jennifer Allen. Vote on the motion.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Yes?
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Terlasky.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Whedon.
Yes. Minutes approved.
Mayor?
Just had to kind of catch up there a little bit. Yes.
There's just a small typo, and it doesn't mean anything, but it says, and I'm trying to find it. I read it before. They were mentioning Creek Road.
Oh, instead of Crick, I'm sorry.
Instead of Crick Road.
Okay.
Just a small typo, that's all.
Okay.
I'll find it for you.
That's fine. I'll find it and correct it and then sign the printed, corrected copy. Thank you. And my error, I apologize, my first time putting minutes on, I didn't realize like we can only do COW at COW and the other will be at council, so.
Right,
Thank
that's
you.
why they're, yeah, a combination of them. Okay. Any comments from,
No,
Mr. Mayor,
yes,
do we need a separate approval of the special council meeting minutes?
we'll do them during the council meeting.
Oh,
yeah,
That's- Yeah,
yeah, that was, I thought that was the
they
difference,
have to
so,
be
Oh, okay.
separate, I guess.
Okay.
One at a
yeah,
time.
you can only approve COW meeting minutes and COW meeting and council meeting minutes in council, so we can, if somebody would like to make a motion when we get to the regular council meeting for those minutes, that'd be great. Okay, legislation. We have Dunham Road, 2020-16, the Dunham Road reconstruction. We did, the bid, opening of the bids took place on Friday, not on the 11th. And I do have Joe Gelati here with us and Rob Kalman. I think I'll have Joe come out and talk to us. I'll grab them, or if we have any questions, and we'll kind of go through it. Either that, or let me ask council what they want to do. We could talk, I mean, it's all related. We could talk about the financing related, or we want to go through the motion first, not motion, but go through the legislation first, and then as you see, the other item is budget and finances. So it's up to you. I didn't, if I bring Joe out, we'll talk about, the bid process and the legislation, Him and John can talk. You want to do that? Okay.
She's here.
Yeah.
And I apologize ahead of time, when I printed two-sided, I didn't realize I was gonna separate that legislation, so.
Oh, that's
Let me know if you can't follow along here on which is which. added it to my minutes. I'm like thinking I'm saving trees, but I'm confusing it.
Joe, you can talk about. Yeah, you can sit in one of the chairs, or you can take the mic. Sarah, what can you see? Will you be able to? What? Can you see?
I'm not a stand-up comedian.
Well, you can sit down if you want. You can sit down.
Yes, you are.
Joe, you can sit down if you want.
This is perfect right here. Thank you, though.
Okay. So what we have in front of us is, Joe, is,
Yeah, I apologize.
that's okay, the legislation for the Dunham Road reconstruction. I know what council has in front of you. Joe sent myself, and then I, of course, forwarded it to you from Friday, after opening the bid documents, him and Rob, the letter from September 11th, you have it in your packet there. Joe just says, the village has received 7 bid proposals for the project known as the Dunham Road reconstruction, bid tabulation attached. He's reviewed the bid proposal and identified the lowest and best bid proposal as that being submitted by Fabrizi Trucking and Paving Company, incorporated in the amount of $2,545,897.50. Previously, this contractor successfully performed work for the village. References have successfully been checked. I'm therefore recommending that Fabrizi Trucking and Paving Corp. Be awarded the contract for the Dunham Road reconstruction. And with that said, we're happy the bids came in, and this one came in, a couple of them came in quite a bit lower than anticipated, which is good for the village, good for Maple Heights, good for the village of Walton Hills. Joe, if you just want to kind of talk about where we're at maybe and
Yeah,
go
I
from there.
certainly can. Thanks, Mayor. Hello, Council. Yeah, you stole a little bit of the verbiage I was going to say.
Oh, okay.
No,
Oh, I'm
that's
sorry.
good. It's all right there in the memo, so I was going to rehash that, so everyone has that information. And I guess just a couple other notes that I had in mind. One is if you go back to some of the previous legislation that we passed back in March of this year and Cuyahoga County passed back in February of this year, they both reference the same cost estimates. A total cost estimate of $3.075 million and a village share of $704,000. That $704,000, I think, is the number that we were all working with. Well, the bids that came in last week, Fabrizi bid is $2.54 million. That's a cost savings of about 17%. So 17% savings from that original $704,000 dollar amount that we were working with brings you down to $582,000. So an updated estimate for village share would be $582,000. So that's good news. I think we bring good news to council tonight.
I agree.
And the only other item that I was going to mention is, we recommend that the council pass the legislation tonight so that the project can proceed.
And I can add a little bit to that. We know after this is passed, in this piece of legislation tonight, it talks about allowing me to enter into a cooperation agreement with the mayor of Maple Heights. And I did talk to Mayor Blackwell today, and Mayor Blackwell and I had a great conversation as always. And her council has legislation in front of them tomorrow, and she's optimistic, just like I am, that that will pass, and then me and her will meet to sign the cooperation agreement. The cooperation agreement is being drafted by Chagrin Valley Engineering, along with Mr. Montello and the law solicitor and their engineer of Maple Heights. And we did see a draft today. It's very simple. Basically, Maple Heights pays for the work done in their community, and Walton Hills pays for the work done in their community, but it does spell out, you know, how we'll get paid a little bit and stuff too. So they're excited about the project, they feel it's a good project. It shows some cooperation between the two communities. It shows us working together with their administration too. And so just kind of wanted to let you know that I did have a talk. And we have a start date, the earliest start date, and we want to, after this is hopefully passed, me and the mayor will get together, sign that cooperation agreement before the project starts. You know, the sooner the better. So we've talked about that. So I'm hoping in the next week or so, you know. So that's part of that. Yeah, I'm sure we're all very happy. You know, that's over $100,000. So that was good, and it's a good project. We had a very good. How many bids did we have, Joe?
There were 7 bids.
7
total.
Seven, as you've seen, seven bids, and they were all pretty close. You know, there was some.
Yeah, very competitive.
Yeah. So it was a good.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go ahead, Jennifer.
Joe, is it correct? I believe we were estimating the project was gonna cost the village $704,000. Okay, so we are over $122,000 saved with this bid. So that, yeah, just taking our costs to just over
Right.
$580,000.
And that could be Joe, would you say? I mean, that it could be a little bit either way, correct?
It could be a little
In
bit
case
either
there's
way,
some
but
kind of.
that's an updated estimate.
Yes.
Updated from our previous legislation from March of this year.
Right.
It's just still nice to be looking at a lower cost than what we were projecting. That's
Right. Exactly.
Mayor?
Yes.
Uh,
Right.
Maybe Mr. Gelati knows, as far as the reimbursement for this, you know, the whole project is 2.545 million. Is the village going to, in your experience, have to foot some of that bill and wait to get reimbursed, or how does that exactly work?
That's exactly true. The village, we're the lead agent for the project, so we foot the bill, so to speak, and we get reimbursed from Cuyahoga County when the project is complete.
So we have to come up with the 2.5 million dollars?
Correct.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
How much total aid did we get though on this project? Did we get any aid or
Aid from Cuyahoga County?
from the state or aid?
None from the state, it's from Cuyahoga County, Mr. Linville. It was, again, back to the legislation from earlier this year, it was a total of $1.9 million.
That's the relief that we got?
That would be yes, that
That's
was
excellent.
the maximum reimbursement that we received.
The grant money.
Yeah, the grant money, basically.
Yeah,
That was the maximum grant that the county awarded us
That's great.
earlier this year. So,
kudos to our engineering.
I'm
One more.
smiling under the mask.
One more question, Mayor.
Yes.
With the finance, maybe Angela can answer that, but since we have to foot that bill originally, how do they usually charge? Is it, you know, a
They're gonna
deposit?
invoice us
and then-
one time each month, correct?
One
We-
Oh,
time each
when you
month?
say they, you mean the contractor?
Yes.
Yes.
No more than one time.
Yeah, standard procedure would be that we're prepared to receive a maximum of 1 invoice per month.
Okay,
So
so,
let's assume 1 per month.
all right.
Then we parse, oh, I'm sorry, Rob.
No, that's okay.
Please forgive me.
Oh, yeah, no, thank you. Just another quick question here, or two. This is September, so they're planning on starting this when?
October.
October, correct?
Correct.
15th?
October, so there'll be 2 months of payments for this year shown on our budget. So, of outgoing expensing money with
Correct.
nothing coming in, so that's going to,
It will come in before, when we bond it out, that money will come in before the end of the year. So it'll probably be more like a month if they start the 15th, and even if our first invoice came November 15th, that's
Yeah.
right about the time we're gonna do the bonds. And so there's gonna be the bond money coming in for it. So you'll actually see before the end of the year, more money coming in from the bond than going out, because the bulk of the projects will be
Okay.
paid in next year, and the reimbursement will then come in next
Okay,
year.
so, yeah, so
It'll look
when
okay.
somebody does look at our
Yeah.
budget at the
Absolutely.
year end,
Yeah.
it's.
Something that's
it's
gonna
be
change for
skewed.
next year too, just
It
so.
might even be higher because of that.
Exactly.
Correct.
We're gonna get more.
So something that'll change for next year, and speaking with the auditor last week, is that in the past, we have been taking these capital projects, and when we're getting our reimbursements, if it's been happening within the same year, we've been just applying them directly back to the invoices. That is incorrect. We have to have the expenses shown all out as they are and receive the money in separate. So basically, when we budget for next year, we're gonna budget that up to 1.9 million that we're supposed to be getting back from the county. So we will have that figure worked in, and it will actually be reflected in our budget as revenue coming in on the capital project side, so.
Okay,
So it won't look so shocking that, we're budgeting out all this expense and then no revenue, you know what I'm saying? So it's gonna look a little better than how we've been currently doing things, because now we've been putting things on the expense side for capital projects, but there's nothing anticipatory coming in
correct.
for any
Right.
grants that we
Yeah.
knew about. And sometimes the projects are happening mid-year, so we may not, have had either going, but, so it'll just look a little different on the budget next year, but it's gonna look prettier when we have a line item showing 1.9 million coming in versus all of this money going out, so, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
And at the end of this year, I will undo everything from this year as well that I have posted that way, so, we'll get a better idea for how that's gonna go just from our projects this year.
And in the cooperation agreement, that, those numbers, like, part of it, I have a draft in front of me, and we just got it, today, so that's why I didn't share it yet, because it's really a draft. But, and I could share it too, whichever, but it just says the city of Maple, part of it is, City of Maple Heights will pay the cost of line item 61 through line item 75, estimated to be 212,900, as shown in exhibit for work performed by Febreze. They kind of go through within 30 days of being presented with the invoice by the Village of Walton Hills, and it says how you have to, and then it mentions, of course, the Ohio Public Works Commission funds. It's spelled out very well, and so there's, no problem. We'll have that part of the agreement between the two mayors for you, and I could share that agreement with you before I execute it too. I have no problem with that, of course,
I have a question.
But you can give the mayor a little leeway here, because this is normal protocol what we're
Oh,
doing.
absolutely.
Mayor,
Yes.
if I may, were you finished, Brian?
Yes, sir, thank you.
I think extra accolades should go to our engineering, because they always prepare the documents so well. And it's beyond reproach of how they present them to us in terms of the lowest and best bid, et cetera, the number of bidders and everything else. So I send out special accolades to Sugar and Valley, so, thank you.
I have a question for Joe, if I can.
Well,
Go ahead, you first.
okay, go ahead.
Mayor and Mr. Gelati, I just have a quick question on the schedule. I know it says October 15th.
Yeah.
Do you have any sense of how much work will really happen in 2020?
No, not exactly. Some work, certainly. Exactly how much, it's hard to say at this point. I guess the typical procedure would be for us to award the contract. Then once we award the contract, we can sit down with the contractor and discuss a more detailed schedule. So
Okay.
some, obviously not all this year. It's hard to say exactly how much.
Great question.
My question, Joe, actually, is just in regards to the cooperation agreement, or John, you might be able to answer this. In that last paragraph where it's gonna say, I'm gonna reflect on Maple Heights invoice, the deduction of what their portion of the OPWC money is going to be.
Okay.
So they were awarded up to 673, which means they may essentially not end up, like, they may break even, right? By the time, when they get reimbursed, they'll probably break even on their end, yeah?
Yeah, I guess that's for me.
Or are they also in a percentage, kind of like we are?
Yeah,
Okay,
I guess I can't say for sure, I'm not Maple's finance department, but I don't think they're going to break even or have no out-of-pocket expense, if that's what your question is. So, if they do, God bless them, but I don't.
okay, so, yeah, okay, they're still on a percentage, but,
Mayor,
Yes.
One more question for Joe, just a matter for the general public traversing the roadways. Anytime during the construction, is the entire road, that portion, going to be completely closed, or is it going to be one lane? How long do you anticipate?
Yeah, it would never be
All this
completely closed. We don't want to do that. That's a safety issue.
stuff? Uh-huh.
Police and fire would have trouble getting up and down the road. Plus, we have residents, and Maple Heights have residents that live along that zone, plus the Ryan Drive subdivision is back there, so we can't shut those people off, obviously. So it would never be completely closed, it would be one direction.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions related to that or related to the legislation for tonight? Anything else?
No, I think that's it, and I apologize if in the back room, are we in the COW or is this?
COW.
We're still in COW. Okay.
Yes. We wanted, we have quite a bit of discussion, so we thought we'd have a COW for our council meeting too. Well, with that said, I might as well keep Joe up here. Okay, we'll go on. If anybody,
retreat
if anybody thinks, yeah, we can do that too. Who would like to introduce that?
This is a COW meeting, though, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll go through the legislation and thing. That's fine. We can do it here. It doesn't matter, either one. We'll go through it in the council.
When you get to council, we know.
Yeah, we can, well, that's okay. We can do it in there. It doesn't matter. Well, let's go through the asphalt repair. There's a resolution 202-17 asphalt repair program. As we talked about it in the last two COW meetings, and, this month, we do have recommendation letter here from Chagrin Valley Engineering related to the asphalt program. We'll start with that one. We did talk about that in our COW meetings. Joe, I won't take your thunder away if you want to read your letter or just kind of.
Yeah, I'm sure that everyone has.
Everybody does have a copy of it.
Yeah, okay, so then we're good. I won't bother reading it verbatim. You can see the information there. And again, some good news for the village. Bid pricing came in favorable for us. And this asphalt program, of course, you may remember, is we received a grant from the county to pay for a portion of this asphalt program as well. Again, if you go back to our memo from my office back on May 7th, we had initially estimated that the total cost of this asphalt repair program would be a total of $95,000 with a reimbursement from the county of $45,000. Well, the bid came in well below that. Oh, pardon me, let me back up half a step. A total of $95,000 with a reimbursement of $45,000 from the county. So the village's share, or out of pocket, would be $50,000. Well, the bids came in favorable for us, so that village share will decrease significantly as well. So. And again, the same here for this small asphalt repair program. We need the same recommendation as the Dunham Road. We would ask that we pass the legislation tonight so we can proceed. And this would consist of repairs on Dunham Road, asphalt repairs on Walton Road, and crack sealing of Egbert Road.
Tinker's Creek, a little bit of Tinker's Creek, you said?
Sorry, Ms. Goldman?
Tinker's Creek, a little bit of Tinker's Creek is,
No, if you remember, Tinker's Creek is covered in the Dunham Road project,
okay.
part of the Dunham Road project.
Oh, yes, okay. Thank you.
Sure.
And that project, Joe, is to be scheduled to begin when?
That would be this fall, yes.
This fall? And Mayor, we're planning on, our cost is $13,250. We're planning on just paying, correct? Not going out for rolling that into the bond, there's no
No.
need to do that. Okay, thank you.
Wouldn't it be nice if they were all like that, Brian?
Oh, there was a time.
We'll move on. If anybody has, we can always go back. Any questions from residents or anybody watching?
No questions.
No questions, okay. Item number C, Resolution 2020-18, concrete repair program. We have talked about that quite a bit too, and we do have that legislation on for tonight's council meeting as well. And we do have, in your packet, you got a letter from Sugar Valley Engineering. Joe Gelati sent us a recommendation, and I don't know, Joe, I don't think if you need to read it, council has it. You kind of talked about that, but if you want to go through that in a little more detail.
Yeah, and again, I guess this falls under the category of a little more good news. This is the project in which earlier this year, the village received a grant for up to $150,000 from Community Development Block Grant Group. This is to repair the concrete pavement in our industrial parks, Crick Road, Hannon Parkway. Many of you guys have been back there. You're familiar with the condition of the pavement. It's very poor. So it's in need of some repairs. So good news here, the bid that we recommend we accept is comfortably below the $150,000 grant that we're receiving. So our village share is essentially zero.
That's even better than the first one, Mr.
Sure.
Chairman.
That's exactly right.
Here, Colgrove.
Yes, go ahead.
I have one question, Mr. Gelati. With this particular bid, or any of them, when the bids come in under the award amount of the $150,000, so to speak, should the contractor incur some or discover some other areas that may need to be addressed, will we have the ability to do that?
Your question is, will it be covered?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So we can still do work up to 150?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Which is a good thing.
That is a good thing.
Any other, Mary, any? Council, good. Any other questions for Joe?
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, is everybody good as far as Joe? Because probably if Joe wants to go, then we'll just, for the council meeting, do you have any questions? Okay, everybody good? Oh, yeah, that's the one thing before let's skip. Let's talk about the right-of-way dedication in the COW meeting right now, since we're right here to Joe. And because then Rob can talk about snow plowing. In your packet, there is also another recommendation. This was before Planning Commission last week. This is something we talked about with council. And what it is, it's the corner lot that the village owns next to Smith and Obie on Dunham and Northfield Road. We've talked about if we were to sell that to somebody, we would like to have a right to put maybe an entrance sign there, since it's our gateway of our community. So with that said, I know we've talked about with council, it was a recommendation, well, before we do anything, we should take it to Planning Commission, separate Joe and Sugar Valley, separated out the area there for what would be, a nice sign if we need to, an area that we could use. It went through Planning Commission, and Planning Commission voted to accept the right of, the intersection and dedication, the right-of-way dedication there. And with that said, though, and they have that, Planning Commission has that approval, but talking to our law solicitor, Mr. Montello, and myself and the engineer and Rob, everybody, we thought, and Ray, we thought we'd bring this forward to council, just so everybody's aware exactly. I know we talked about doing it, but now it's been done. It would be a nice thing to have a piece of legislation saying you agree with it too. So that is on for tonight. Joe, you've got something to add about the corner there and what?
Yeah, no, you really touched on it all. Really, the purpose is to slice off that corner, if you will, and dedicate it as public right-of-way so that it's ours in perpetuity, regardless of what happens or who eventually owns the remainder of the parcel. And it becomes our village public right-of-way, and it's ours to do with whatever we choose, whether it's a decorative entrance sign or any other work we may need to do on that busy, vital corner. We have that piece of property, so it's a good thing for the village.
And if we maintain the property forever, we maintain the property, but, you know, we'd like to see it developed, and I think, as council knows, you know, that's just one of the things moving forward with some economic development here in the near future, which we're kind of excited about, expanding one of our businesses here, so. How's that? Everybody good with that, or?
Yes.
Well, Joe, thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
Have a good evening.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe.
I'm gonna have Rob.
Wait in the back, or?
No, I think we're good. Council say everybody's good. You can have Rob come back though.
I will let Rob know that it's his turn, and I'm gonna go do some virtual homeschooling homework. Welcome to the new world, right?
Yes.
Nice seeing everybody.
Have a
You
good
too,
night.
Joe.
Thank you.
Good night.
Yeah. You guys didn't hear that. I was teasing. Better you let your mother do the teaching. How families' lifestyle has changed for everybody, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of kids are doing that hybrid learning too, you know, so many days in school, so many days at home.
I guess a lot of people are having troubles from the news, you know, because one of their kids is going to school Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, the other one's going to school, you know, Wednesday and Thursday, and they're trying to figure out how to coordinate all that.
Hey, Rob.
Hi, Rob.
Hey, Rob.
For any residents watching, or anyone else watching, our Joe Gelati from Sugar Valley Engineering, the village engineer, who's answering questions now. We have Rob Kalman, our zoning inspector, building commissioner here with us tonight. Rob, we have one piece of legislation. I had you here also in case, I know Rob's involved in, of course, all the road projects along with Joe. So I did ask him to be here in case Joe needed to ask him anything. But we kind of went through Rob, so maybe that's not a bad thing, because I'm sure you have things too. But I would like you to kind of talk about, we do have the snow plowing contract legislation, which will be on in our regular council meeting coming up, resolution 2020-19, the snow plowing sharpscapes. Sometimes we get a letter, usually we get a letter from Rob or whatever, but I thought what's better than a in-person recommendation, or kind of talk about if there was any other bids, since he was here for the road programs. So, Rob, you just kind of want to mention, you know, we put it out for bids and what happened, kind of the process.
So we, hear me?
You can take it down.
So we put it out, we put out the senior snowplow out to bid. We only had one bidder. It's Sharpscapes. Sharpscapes has been performing this service for about 6 years or better now. Their price did increase. I believe it's $20. I think we're at $195. Now we're at $215. So with that being the only bidder that's we chose
And that's for the season,
for the season.
the $20 for the season.
Yes.
215 for the season, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
$20 increase for the
$20
season,
increase.
215 total for the season.
No, no. It's how many pushes, Rob? It's one pushes.
It's one push.
One push. Yeah, it depends on how much snow. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're at 4 inches.
Yeah.
It's essentially, once you get into the 4-inch mark, then you get vehicles, even we have so many front-wheel drive vehicles, 4-wheel drive vehicles. 4-inch mark is when you get vehicles possibly sliding off the driveway. So that's typically the contract's 4 inches and it's blocked, so.
And the contract is, well, it's 2020, 21.
Correct.
Yes.
And Rob, that's one time in like 24 hours, right? That they get the driveway plowed?
You know, I've never had, they have them come out more than once in 24 hours,
Well, we had a pretty mild winter,
but especially last year.
Right.
With that being said, I
I thought there was something, you know, in
there may be, I don't have the contract with me.
Okay, that's no
Yeah,
problem.
I think it's either 3 or 4 inches, something like that. If it's a continual snowstorm, then they will come out again.
Well, and that's why there's the stipulations of, yeah, because anybody paying for a seasonal rate that's paying real money, they don't tolerate 3, 4 inches. Like 0 tolerance.
Rob, Mayor?
Yeah, and just, Andrew, so everybody knows, it is a 2-year contract, just like the other one we signed in the past too.
Okay.
So that amount is set for 2 years, it won't be the same amount, yeah.
So that covers 2020 to 2022.
2020, right, winter of 2020 and winter of 2021, which will go into 22, hopefully
Right.
not, but hopefully by January, we'll have
Right.
snow in 22.
That's at the first, for the winter of 20 and 21.
Mayor?
Yes.
I have not heard any complaints like last winter, or I believe even the winter before. I don't think any, to my recollections, nobody's called me to complain about the service. Not particularly them, but as far as Sharpscape is concerned, but maybe how we run the program, or they should come out more, or whatever. Have you gotten any indication from any residents talking to them that maybe we could tweak the program in future years somehow?
Since I stepped
make
up
it better?
and was taking care of this, and because Sharpscapes was taking care of this when Dan Stuckey was here, I met with Rick Micah, and he said, you won't hear any complaints while I'm dealing with this, why it's my contract. And I said, if I hear nothing, then we have nothing to talk about, that'll be good. I have, in the last 2 years, had the occasional complaint that, you have a resident that believes there's several inches in the driveway, and there's not. But as far as performance, no. I've just had a complaint here or there. If there's 2 inches and Sharpscapes doesn't come out, a couple people complain, but it's not the contract, so.
Right, and just with your experience for our future dealing with the snow program, have you, maybe any ideas how we could improve it or things like that, that would be beneficial to the residents, that they might want to see in it, or anything?
No, I think we're comparable with other programs offered by other municipalities. I'm familiar with a couple of the surrounding areas here, and I think we're comparable.
We're
Okay, thank
actually
you.
on the low end of some of our new rates. Our price is lower.
Yeah, and actually I forget who it was, they actually did a per push, which I thought that would be very difficult to collect funding, and that's a match municipality. So we're good.
Good, thank you.
I have shared, and I know Ron has too, other communities have asked for our agreement, and how we're doing it. Some of the communities were communities that were funding it through the village, village or their city, and mostly villages, and now can't because of the budget. So they were seeing how we're running it as far as, we really don't run it, we just enter into a contract for the residents, and then the residents purchase that. They're part of that, purchasing that contract. But, and they were surprised at the cost, that's. Go ahead, Brett.
Yeah, I have a question, Commissioner Calvin, on that, because I'm not clear. The $215, that's the cost that a resident will pay for the season?
Correct.
Okay. All right, that's what
As long as it's 4 inches or more, and it could be, the amount of times doesn't matter.
Right.
Because that was something,
Right.
yeah, there's not a number of pushes in there or not to exceed or whatever.
So, yeah, if we pay the price this year for that, unlike winter last year,
Right.
it's fixed price.
You guys, our driveways are a lot larger than some other communities around the nation.
Oh, yeah, any questions? Any other questions for Rob, why he's here? I mean, we can have an open night, but no.
Open mic
right. Rob, did you want to comment on any of the projects? I know Rob was watching the meeting in the other room. Joe kind of covered them, okay.
No, Joe and I speak a lot about these projects. So,
Right.
I mean, I'm gonna be most involved in once they set forth their schedule for both projects. Just to work everything else around it. Plus, my concern is snow removal on throughout the winter.
Maintaining the traffic.
So that's gonna be, I'm gonna be most involved in that portion of it, is as we go through the winter. And we'll discuss that at that time. One-way traffic's good, unless I'm trying to get a crew in there to take care of the roads before everybody gets on the roads, and the one-way is gonna be southbound, and my guys gotta get to the shop, so we'll figure that out when we get there.
But in the end, your guys will be happy that we don't have
Oh,
to drive.
yeah,
them.
everybody will love it. Yeah. It'd be better than what it is.
We did receive the 2 new trucks that council approved.
Yes.
They are on the road, if you just wanted to mention that. and,
They're on the road.
Are the
Well-
guys loving it?
They loving it?
Yeah,
Good.
yeah. They're both on the road. One of them is being outfitted for a snowplow. The other one, our mechanic, so legitimately, he had the 01 that, and for a mechanic, he didn't complain about anything that was going on with that truck, so he got one of them, and then the other one's getting outfitted for a plow. And, they're good. They're good. They're awesome. They're terrific. It's a big difference than what we were driving, so.
I want to point out to everyone that Rob was able to work with Gillingham to bring the cost down by shaving off some features on the trucks to where that plow fit in with the complete estimate we had for the cost of the vehicles, so.
Great.
But, yeah, I didn't know if everybody knew.
No.
So we got the big price that council approved. And there are some small things that, what they charge to put a light or a beacon, not that we don't want them on the trucks, but for us to self-perform that would be less expensive than to pay a dealership to perform that.
All right.
So we cut all the fat off the top. And what that let us do was, one, outfit one of the new trucks with a snowplow. And in 2014, because we were overly budget conscious, we have a 2014 dump truck that was outfitted with the incorrect size plow because it was inexpensive at the time, and that was the way everybody thought we should go.
Hmm.
So we're getting the proper plow for our 14, which will make that truck more efficient. It's a small dump truck, make it more efficient on the road. And the plow for the new truck, and we got the 2 new trucks, we got all that under what was passed for 2 vehicles.
Thank you very much.
Great.
Thank
We
you.
got a little creative.
AM radios only, right?
Walkie-talkies,
They don't put
nothing
those in
else.
there.
I didn't know that there was a radio in there, to be honest with you. I'll have to look tomorrow.
Don't raise your right arm. Any other questions for Rob?
No, thank you, Rob.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Rob.
Mayor, before, I didn't get a copy of Exhibit A to the snowplow.
What?
Oh, the contract?
Did I put one on there? I'm sorry.
No.
Exhibit A would normally be Rob's letter, but we were all on time constraints this week, and we did not have one.
Can I get a copy?
I didn't put one with it.
I don't have it, he didn't give us a letter, I had him come here. tonight.
Correct. And last
She
year.
copied the legislation from last year, and Rob sent us a letter, but since Rob was gonna be here tonight for the roads, that's why I asked him, he gave his recommendation for Sharp States tonight to talk about it. Plus, they're the only,
So there's no letter then?
no, there is no letter.
There's no Exhibit A?
There is no
Not for
exhibit
that
A.
one, no, the only
No.
exhibit A was for the Dunham Road,
Okay.
which you got twice. You got your legislation, and you have a separate packet that covered all 3 pieces of legislation.
Okay, so we got through the legislation. Now we have, does anybody have any questions on the legislation as of right now? Okay, then we have, any questions from
No
the
questions
residents or anything? that we
from
want-
the residents.
Okay. I know we have item 6, which is the budget and finances. We got a fund summary as of August 31st.
You do, and I apologize, I did not give everyone that usual previous month that I did last to give you a little comparison. Did everyone have time to look at the 52? I was hoping between 11 and 20 last night, and now people have time, I'm sorry. Do we want to do questions about that first? We are obviously in we're moving right along as I expected. We're 40,000 to the good last month. And so things are picking up. Mayor's court is, court charges were picking up, and so everything that was kind of holding us down just a little bit during COVID seems to be getting back on track. So I feel us getting to that modest surplus that Katie had budgeted for us. We have specific things we want to talk about in the 52.
Angela,
Yes.
just curious, do you have an estimate at all of how short we are yet on the income tax because of extension dates? I mean, do you have any kind of estimate?
I can get that for you. I mean, as I stated last month, I think we were about, net profits are really where our big bang for the buck is, where we're short. It was about 100,000, and that real extension deadline that people take advantage of every year anyway is October 15th.
Right.
So I have steadily been getting some returns in, and I still anticipate some more. So, and all, as well as some estimates on those extended returns. So I've just started putting more in this week for September, but I can definitely take a look and let you know how much closer we are than that at this
Yeah,
point
I'm just
for net
curious.
profit. Withholding, we've been pretty much on pace, and same thing with individual. So estimate coupons for third quarter will go out. I've already been getting some in, thankfully, from some residents as well. So everything should stay status quo with those two, I anticipate, unless we go into a shutdown again, hopefully not, for businesses at all. But we fared well. I was starting to pull through, I've got several people that don't pay us at all anymore, but I still get zeros from them. So as I went through zero withholding statements that came, there were a couple very small companies for just a couple of the months in COVID that I'm talking like they don't even send us $50 a month usually. For just a couple of the months, they seemed like they had no activity based on the nature of their work. And now they're back up and running. So we really got lucky there with the types of businesses we have in our community, that they're so hands-on that a lot of people, I know Smith and Obie had some people working from home for a little bit for office staff, but he, when they asked, can we stay home forever, he was like, we need you here. So most of them had come back in, and the thing to just cross our fingers about is all of the new arguing that's gonna go on down in Columbus, where we've had, you know, we have had in Franklin County, there had been a lawsuit, the whole, if we're gonna work from home, we wanna pay our home city.
Right.
Okay, so that, as long as nobody hits us with that, I think we'll be okay. And again, I don't think we've had too many people at home in other cities. I think a lot of our businesses, people stay, so, you know, that could be our only potential snafu down the road, or and if they would do anything with it, I would pray that it would just be from that point on and not go retroactive. But nothing's been challenged up in our county yet, so we should be good there. But yeah, I will get you a figure on how much closer we are with nonprofit tax.
That's the fear of a lot of communities, especially a lot of communities that have a lot of office space.
Yeah.
We're fortunate.
Or retail
Industrial.
space.
Yeah.
That when they shut down the retail, like Parma Heights, there was more retail, community Parma has a lot of retail, so they were a little harder in other places. I know my own city, Southern Hills, is, you know, forecasting like a $1.69 million deficit because of COVID, so. I'm thanking goodness every day that we are not in that position.
Angela, I have one other question.
Yes.
I had a resident ask, how much does the village get with the paper recycling?
So here's the thing with the paper recycling, I'm glad you brought that up. We had conversations in the past, and you guys have had River Valley Retrievers here since I came. I've worked extensively with River Valley Food Schools, and so we had actually another community come and ask us a few months back, how come I'm not seeing checks? We were seeing a minimal amount for a while, and then what happened is that I was informed by Rob and Lisa that they wanted to start charging us to have retrievers here, and I'll give an explanation as to why, because I reached out and I was like, what's going on? These retrievers were never intended for corrugated cardboard, so I can tell you that having worked with and been at a facility for River Valley. However, when I see residents pull up, that is all that's going in there, primarily is corrugated, so it is costing them more to have to separate that out.
But there's signs on it that says break down all cardboard.
See, and, yeah, I'd have to double check with them again, I know in the past,
Right.
Abington used to take the cardboard, but, so that's the hard thing, when it's not paper, and so their poundage, you know, because they would deduct, what they would always do is if, you know, we're gonna take this much, and this was all paper, but if we had to separate out this much corrugated, now we have to dock you for what we separated out. And so we got to a point where they were gonna charge us to put the retrievers here, and they haven't sent an invoice yet, and I reached out, and I'll contact us since retired there, but, the new person that I spoke with, it did explain that to me, you know, if they're gonna stay there, you know, there's so much, you know, it's costing them money to have them here right now. So I haven't heard anything else, but we have also not gotten a check since last year, and I'm gonna say when we did get checks, it was probably like $30 a month max.
Right.
But yeah, so at this point, if we wanna keep them as a convenience, I will continue to have a relationship with River Valley and work through how to keep them here at no cost to us, but we probably won't see profits unless we start enforcing the fact that it should be mostly paper in there. And I will ask them about that, because I have not gone up to these.
I was just there tonight.
Yeah,
And it says break down
It says,
cardboard.
yeah, all cardboard must be broken
And,
down.
and with that said, when we had a discussion and we talked about what we received from it, to me, and I'm sure council agrees, for you know, if you get $30, it's really a nice convenience, and we're recycling. It is encouraging our residents to recycle at the same time, even though we can recycle in our cans, but a lot of people won't have enough room in the cans either. So we were getting a little money, but it really is more of a convenience. It was nice to get a little money plus have the convenience, but as long as there's not a cost. It was the cost that, if there's a cost, you know, more of a cost, then that was something I would bring to council and say, do we need to think about it? Unless the cost was very minimal, like, you know, $10 or $20, you know what I'm saying, where to me, it's a service to the residents too, you know, and just like what we're talking about now. A lot of people do like them. You sit in that office, there people go all day to those.
Well, people feel like they're being proactive by using them.
Right.
Yeah, I like them. I have boxes in my car to drop off when the meeting is over tonight. The question I have though is, if those containers were not there and the recycle were going in the Kimball containers, are we charged per ton for recycle by Kimball?
Our per tonnage cost is built in, so it was the trash and the recycling. So right now, let's say for handling that rollover, we're at $10.71. That encompasses both. So unless they would come to us when the new, you know, contract would be talked about and say, hey, you guys have really gone up in your recycling, we need to talk, you know what I'm saying? Because the whole point of communities recycling was to offset the trash cost and,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
to begin with, so,
I'm not questioning so much the cost per ton, but the actual amount, the tonnage itself.
that we
Goes
could
up.
let, yeah, we
The
may
total
go up in
goes up.
tonnage, absolutely.
Right,
which
so
would then
keeping the
drive
containers
some.
here helps
Absolutely.
reduce the tonnage that
Correct.
goes in the bin to reach the
Correct.
chemicals that we do get billed for.
Yeah, it would increase our tonnage for sure. This village so far, from what I checked when we were talking about trash last month, there's no guarantee ever, obviously, and maybe at certain time, maybe when COVID hit and everyone was cleaning out their closets and their attics, we would have more, but we're pretty steady on tonnage from month to month, you know, roughly speaking. So I agree that it would probably go up, and I don't even know if people would, you know, their cans might get filled. So their recycling cans might, you know, they'd be probably calling like, my recycling can's filled up, what am I supposed to do? So yeah, that'd be something to discuss. We could also, if for some reason they come back to wanting to actually charge, and it's too much, we can also check with another carrier. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes, Mayor, if I may, I would just like to suggest, in the resolution 2020-19, in the minutes that are composed, there's some kind of reference to Exhibit A being in Rob's little talk with the
Yeah.
cost, because there's
Oh,
no
yes,
cost.
because it was
for
in the
this.
legislation, you got it, yeah.
There's no cost whatsoever in these,
And he can still draft, we can have him still draft a letter to
2020-19.
have on file as well.
just in the minutes, that's, I mean, I
Absolutely,
think that's
yes.
the
I'll make a note of that, thank you.
easiest way to do it. Thank you.
Thank you for reminding me that it's in the piece of legislation.
Thank you, Mayor.
By the way, the recommendation wouldn't have really, you know how many bids we had? If you heard them? One.
Yeah.
So our option was either to accept that bid, not to accept that bid, or put it out for rebids and probably
Pay more and
not
advertise.
big. So there wasn't much of an option there.
Yeah.
We
No, but I
had,
see
we
what
had
you-
one company, same company from the last 2 years bid the project.
Some reference should be made to that then too, I think.
I just made it on record here.
Okay, good.
Absolutely.
And the actual fact that the cost is pretty much in line with what we paid previously.
20 hours more per season.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'll make sure that's in the minute.
Thank you, Mayor.
I've jotted down notes from both speakers. Other questions pertaining to the 52?
Angela, now you, Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead, no, it's fine.
You did indicate that that it is hopeful that we're gonna make up the deficit. Right now, which, I don't have, I was looking for my paperwork from last month, and it's at home. But we're showing right now $99,810 deficit.
Correct, and last month we were at 131,826.
Yeah, so we are
We're
improving.
steadily moving 40 grand, and hopefully that's gonna continue on.
And that's mostly through what kind of revenue?
That is mostly through income tax. I mean, we did get a $7,400 cable franchise fee check this month, but, you know, those are things we usually get quarterly. And again, the mayor's court, you know, increased a little bit, as we had court a little more often. Now
I'll
we're
give that
getting-
report.
Getting back on track a little bit with that, because our big hits, we were over budget to start for camera for what we budgeted, but the cameras were down a little bit, over last year. And then mayor's court was like 123,000, you know, when we went over finances last month, that was about 123,000 that we were down from not having court all that time. And then the 100,000 from taxes. And then just a few other small things that have, you know, we have taken a COVID hit on. You know, when we get vehicle permissive tax from the state, that's been, you know, down a little bit, vehicle registration tax. Gasoline tax ever so slightly. We're still getting our local government fund money. It seems to be right on par for county and state right now. But again, those are not big figures that we rely on to run the budget. So, yeah, I mean, those are like our three big ticket items was camera revenue just being down a little bit, and of course, we don't count on that anyway, and then mayor's court and net profit tax. So, yeah, so we're probably shoring up on the court for sure, and we're shoring up a little bit on taxes as well. I think I think in the month of August, you know, I'm sure that between all three, withholding, individual, and net profit, I can put in, you know, probably close to $200,000 in taxes.
Thank you.
Well,
Yeah, absolutely.
that shows too, Brian, because I was just looking at the same thing. I had my July and I pulled out June. In June, we were anticipating a deficit of over 273,000 at the end
That's
of
where we
June.
ended that month, right,
Yes.
exactly. Like,
So
we're
we've
really-
been heading towards the positive side all
Yep.
along. And as Angela said, all this COVID stuff has kind of thrown the wrench into it,
Right.
but
Yeah,
It's
put a
good to
delay,
see.
I mean, that tax deadline put a big delay, and again, a lot of these businesses that have filed that extension for October would have anyway, and so, you know, we'll pick it up, I'm pretty confident, unless for some reason a lot of them have it in that loss, but let's pray that's not the case. But yeah, and I'll drill down into which, you know, which businesses. All of our heavy hitters on withholding are right on
Right
par with
there.
where they've been, thank gosh. You know, our bigger companies for withholding every month are right there where they should be.
Good.
If they took a dip, it was just a couple $100 a month, and then they came right back up once everything was reopened. Yeah, we're fortunate. You're thinking, right?
Mayor, Mayor,
Yeah.
I just have a comment. But every once in a while I see on social media that we're losing businesses after business after business.
Here on our social media?
Here, yeah, in Walton Hills, and that is just not true, correct?
Not at all.
Okay, thank you.
And with that said, I know council, we'll move forward, me and Tom, and I know Jennifer, we talked, we're gonna give an update on that. We actually got some good things coming, the dedication of that, you know, that right away was a good thing. There's hopefully gonna be something good happening at the corner. There was another business that contacted, the village, so, yeah, no, we're,
If anyone's left, it might have been a small, tiny, you know, within one of the units of the industrial park, but I don't know of anybody that's
Yeah.
had to close up here, thankfully, or that's called me to say they have to close up.
right, so.
Good.
But we'll kind of, I know I've heard some of that, we'll address that too. Or, you know, that's something next month too, we'll hopefully get a good feel, and maybe some things will come forward to council and make some decisions on. So, we'll address that too. But from what we understand, that it's not true. If it is, we're not aware of it. Financially, they're paying, everybody's paying their bills and paying their taxes, and
Just about everybody.
yeah.
Just
So-
a couple people that need a phone call.
Right, but
Yeah.
that's, well, that's,
But COVID was regardless of that.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
We're doing well.
Yeah, Mayor, and
Yes.
Angela, yeah, I had a question, it's really on the expenses side, as it relates to some of our capital projects. I know there are some purchase orders still out for street construction. fund.
Absolutely, and I meant to hit you with that while we were here.
What-
So,
Wait, let me finish.
go ahead.
So my question is, beyond what's shown here in terms of purchase orders,
Yeah,
are there still perhaps even more?
there should be for capital projects.
Okay,
That big one that's still open is for Northfield Alexander, and we should be wrapping that up soon. So then the only other things we would start to put in would be for asphalt and concrete. And, you know, just depending on the schedule of his work, we can piecemeal that out and not put a large one out, you know, not put a large encumbrance out. We can do it as needed for repair. Yeah.
For Dunham Road.
Well, not so much for Dunham, I'm talking about for the asphalt and concrete.
But
Well,
also,
Dunham's was a different animal.
right.
It's a different animal.
But you'll, anything, did we want to talk about how, and I know you
Yeah,
mentioned
if
it
we're
about,
done with this, we can move on to Dunham.
talking about, the yeah, Dunham Road and how we're going to bond that out or whatever.
Sure.
Just, I know that.
Any other questions in this before we, okay. All right, so I spoke a little bit with Mr. Whedon last week, because I know wrapping your head around this stuff is kind of sometimes tricky, and even for myself. And so, I spoke a little bit with Katie. I thought maybe she was gonna send some more notes as well. But what we do each year with the current note that we have, you know, it's a bond anticipation note. And those are meant for short-term projects that are 5 years or less in the scope of the project itself. which is what we would probably pursue again for this Dunham Road 2.5 mil. What I want to know from Katie is will we do it separate of our regular note that we redo each year? Because what happens with this type of note is, it matures around November each year. So we go out for, to Ricker as our bond counsel, we go out to, last year it was Michael Nicholas, but, we go out to someone to see who's going to go ahead and bid on our bond. Doing a serial issue bond is for a longer term project. And so then sometimes they factor into there that sometimes they can say it has to be something that's already completed. And so it's a longer term, but again, where we're at with the amount of money we're going to get back, in talking with Katie, we'll bond out the 2.5 just like we have been. That's my anticipation. What we're gonna do is an anticipation note. So it will either be a combination with or mirror the note we currently have. And then we can decide when we get our money at the end of the project, if we want to pay all of it off or not, or keep going and renewing some of that, depending on where we're at with other things that might need to take place at the time. I know Mr. Reed and I were discussing maybe being able to reserve some money for the long-term projects and trying to get to side roads and other things that we might have coming up. So I will keep speaking more with Katie about this because, she's gone out every year for the current note that we have. And so I just kind of, I want her involved in the process. But that's where I see it going. We obviously do need to do the whole 2.5 million because we don't have that sitting here. But as we were talking about with timing, by the time this project gets started, our earliest start date on the paperwork was 10/15. I don't expect to see but maybe one invoice before year end. And that times up perfectly. Like nobody needs to rush out now to get the bond. It'll time up with us going out for the other bond. So my question to Katie was just, are we going to do two separate ones or just go out for the one? And we may go for one and roll them mainly because of costs involved. Obviously, we pay Ricker, we pay Stifel Nicholas, and so,
There's
maybe
administrative fees for each.
administrative fees, and it might be more beneficial interest rate wise for us to go ahead and just do it all together. So that will determine what we're going to do. Yeah.
I have two quick questions.
Yeah.
First question is, what type of interest rate are you anticipating on this, give or take?
Look at where we're at right now. I feel like our last one was in the 4% range, but I could be wrong. I'll have to look at what our last one was.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
And of course, like we've done through the years, some years we paid more towards the paying off the
Absolutely.
bond, some years
Correct.
we paid less. As a minimum, what do you anticipate this increasing our yearly expenses for payments?
That I'll have to
Is that-
determine with Katie, because each year we've taken a little bit less since I've been here. So I think last year we were at like 1.495 million with what, and before that it was 1.6 and
Right.
change. So we did pay down some of our note last year. So that when we start doing the actual budget for next year, that may be a time when we're gonna talk about that, because will we, at this modest surplus that she budgeted for this year tells me that maybe this year we're not gonna throw a bunch more on the note. So just kind of gonna depend on where we land at the end of the year.
Okay.
We always pay the interest whenever we pay the note off and the new note comes in, we're paying the note plus interest, and then, the new note hits at the same time for us, so. If we can pay down more, we certainly will. I mean, it's always more advantageous, obviously, to pay down as much as we can, but it doesn't mean we have to take that whole reimbursement and necessarily do it that way. Especially now that I was given this bulletin by the auditor and realized that we need to go ahead and account for it the other way. That makes a huge difference too, so.
And moving forward, like you mentioned, if we decide to do any more projects or, our next issue is some of the side roads, our infrastructure. We do know that, which we've done a great job as council and leadership to tighten things up and watch, but at the same time, just like Dunham Road, we have to maintain our infrastructure. We all know that. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir there, so. And that does include some of the side roads too.
Which is hard because there's never grants for side roads. so.
No, yeah, which
Yeah.
makes it tougher, so.
Mayor Colgrove, if I may comment, to what you're saying, that's part of the conversation I had, Angela and I had last week is, we know that whether it's going to be a project that's going to be partially reimbursed by the county or the state, for maybe a grant from a loan from the state, 750 here, 500,000 there, it's reoccurring every year. So, the thought of perhaps pushing out a Dunham Road project that I'm sure will have at least a 20-year life expectancy, pushing that bond, paying that off over a longer period of time, and freeing up some of the village cash to budget for some of these secondary road projects. I mean, we, budget 500,000 or 750,000 every year, whether it's going to be reimbursed or not. We, like you said, we do have to maintain our infrastructure. So I hope we can really have some consideration for a longer term bond. I know the interest rate might be a little bit higher. I mean, it varies.
Well, and again, some of the problem with longer term bonds too is that if the project itself is gonna take place within 1 year and conclude within 1 year, that also sometimes may be a factor in which bond we can qualify for.
But I'm a proponent of, budgeting, capital being part of the budget, at the beginning of the year.
Right, not just as.
Yeah, not as neat, but put it on the table and factor it in and figure out how we can get that work done. Because as we all know, some of our secondary roads are, in some senses, are becoming a safety issue. It's not just aesthetics, it's safety. It's a safety issue. People tripping, that kind of thing. So we really need to get to those secondary roads some kind of way.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Angela, I was looking through and trying to find, but I don't see that we had a projected cost to us for the concrete repair program. Is that correct?
There may not be one in here budgeted, but I'm gonna look and
I
see
know
because.
we applied for the grant and we got it, but I don't see any numbers of
It was
what
the
our projected cost.
And I'm not sure,
Oh, you lost
last week's.
well, I'm gonna look, we do this legislation
No,
around the same
it's-
time every
it's
year,
fine.
so let me see if Katie budgeted last year when she did the budget.
No,
Where-
you're talking about the,
Oh, you mean it cost out of pocket, so no, yeah,
you
that's
mean
what,
for the grant?
with what
Right.
Joe was explaining with the concrete is, we will pay our invoices obviously, but then we will essentially break even on that,
Right. But
absolutely.
my question is, I don't see, and we didn't project a cost, we were just applying for that grant, correct? And we got that grant, and then the cost for the project came out less than the grant. My question for this
Well, there
is
was a bid
because-
proposal, it went out as a bid.
Yes. My reasoning for this was with over 122,000 that we are anticipating paying less for the Dunham Road project, and over 36, almost 37,000 that we are anticipating paying less than what we initially projected. There's like about $160,000 that we have in savings. We're being slightly over budgeted and the project's coming in
Correct.
less just between those two projects.
Well, it just, some of that, the Dunham Road, we'd be bonding out, so you'd either bond out less or more, basically,
Right,
you're not, you know what I mean, you're taking a loan for that.
right. I was just crunching the numbers.
No, I
But
know, I
did-
see what you're saying,
I
we
don't-
anticipated 705 plus,
Right, we got
Yeah.
less.
And
That's not factored in the budget either. The 7.5 is not in the 2020.
No.
No,
Right.
that's not it.
Right.
Right,
No,
but
yeah,
what's
that's
in
what we
there
were,
now?
that's what we were anticipating
In
originally.
payment.
Absolutely.
And the asphalt project, we were anticipating 50,000, and we're only paying just over, well, we're only paying, but it's just over 13,000 is our
Correct.
cost instead, so
Correct.
those numbers are really going to help also
They will.
with what we
Absolutely.
need to be bonded out and stuff.
Well, the
Correct.
bond is the bond, so
Right.
because we're on the land for the 2.5 million, that will be what gets bonded, period, unless, we can go maybe a little bit late if I was gonna get 2 invoices before the end of the year, but like I said,
yeah,
the
you're
start
right
date.
there, so how much we want to pay down.
Right, so how much we wanna pay down exactly, so we can offset, when we go to do the new budget, we'll be able to offset based on the cost savings, absolutely.
I had one more comment before I know we still have a little time before we do the bond. We also have to keep in mind the memos that our engineer already sent us regarding the potential Horseshoe and repaving for 2021. We have received some grants from the city of Cleveland for water main replacement, but then we will be responsible for the repaving. So, and I believe in Mr. Gelati's memos, 2021 is the targeted period for those projects to get done. And I don't remember the exact number, but it's Egbert Road is an Egbert Road piece, and Hicks, I'm not sure, or whatever those roads
Yeah,
are.
the horseshoe.
The horseshoe and some others.
Yep.
If all of those, yeah, and if all of those come true, I know it's in excess of $500,000 that we will have to pay for repaving. So we want to make sure we take a look at his memos and keep that piece in mind for 2021 capital budgeting.
I will-
Potential funding.
Yeah, I will have discussions with Joe as well as Rob before, budgeting even happens, and then hopefully Katie's got time to be involved with me, as well. But yeah, absolutely.
And what, last year, I think we went by the, Chagrin Valley usually does that assessment for us. Last year, I think we went by an assessment that was from either the year before or whatever, because there was no sense in, spending that engineering to, look, but we might be at the point where we need an assessment, so I think that assessment might be a few years. Well, not that the roads don't get better, they get worse. But sometimes a road exceeds another road that wasn't on the top of the list before, but now it's gotten worse because it's a heavier traveled road, one of the side roads or whatever, so we might have to have them probably before we get into that discussion, also have them reassess it, reassess the list and kind of give us, him and Rob, a target on which ones. Because sometimes you'd be surprised, as we know as council, sometimes the ones that they move up, because some are more traveled or in an area where there's more traffic, cut throughs, stuff like that. Is everybody comfortable with that for Dunham Road and where we're gonna move with that?
I can always email everybody too, once Katie and I finalize some plans here, and let you know where we're at.
Right.
If we're in between a meeting and here's what we're thinking, I'll let you
Well, we'll probably be right in the middle of our October council meetings too,
Well, correct.
COW meetings.
We do need to
You know.
usually do all of our bond stuff in October. That will be part of legislation as it has been every October, so, yeah, absolutely.
The Dunham Road project's probably gonna be on our agenda, till it's pretty much done, just because, like anything, council and the residents will deserve an update, and, it's a big project. It's so, it'll probably be in front of us just to talk about where it's at, scheduling and also financially too, as we move forward too, as far as, updating the budget, where the draws are, and stuff like that. So, tonight's certainly not, it's the beginning of the Dunham Road reconstruction project, more than it is, I'm sure it's, all of us know, going through some of these tough projects, like when we did Egbert Road and Alexander. Alexander was probably one of the smoothest reconstructions, the last, and went well, the weather and everything. This being where it's at, and being a hill, being one that crosses, good months to bad months, it's gonna be a tough project. And as council members, we'll be right in the middle of it, and mayor, and everybody on this, John, Angela, all of us will be right there, because we'll be fielding a lot of calls and stuff. So it's gonna be important for myself and the staff here to keep council updated, so you can answer the residents too. Because there's gonna be, and we'll post as much as we can on the website and Facebook, as far as delays and traffic and stuff there too. So I think it's gonna be important for us to keep people updated. School's going on now, and, school buses go up that road too and stuff, so, we all know that's a well-traveled hill, so, well-traveled road, so. That will fall on the administration here to keep everybody, myself, to keep everybody informed. Any other questions on, as far as the COW meeting, as far as budget, finances, any other business in the COW meeting anybody wants to go over? Or?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I just wanted to bring it up now in case residents don't want to stay on for the special council meeting. I had-
Regular council meeting. I keep saying
The
that
regular
too.
council
Because
meeting,
we've
yes.
had, this will be our third council meeting.
Right.
But yeah, I was saying that too earlier.
But I had a couple of calls from residents asking about in-person voting. And it has been confirmed with the Board of Elections that we will still have in-person voting at the community center. Now, the reason I bring this up is because if you go onto the Board of Elections website and fill out the information where it says, where do I vote? If you fill in all the fields, there's a glitch in the system and it will tell you there's no location. If you only fill in the required fields, which is your street number, your street name, and Walton Hills, it pops up. So they have two other fields listed on there asking people like the direction. You live on the north side, the south side, the east side, the northwest side of the road. And also to include if it's a road or a court or a circle or, so for some reason, which I brought it to their attention then, because I did it with, my address, my parents' address, my brother's address. I'm like, none of us are showing up, we have nothing here. So there is a small glitch in their system. If you want to check online, just fill out the required
Did anyone call the Board of
fields.
Elections?
I did.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I did call them and spoke to them about it. And that was their suggestion.
That's a pretty
Right.
big glitch.
Just fill
It's
out the
not
required
small.
fields.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Jennifer, because I know Mary, because Brian and myself talked about it too, because we had some residents call, we wanted to get something on our webpage and our Facebook page, and they did send Mary something, but there was something she found in there too, and that's why she didn't post it, because there was some discrepancy about the mail-in and the dates. So with that said, maybe she can call down there and maybe they have something for us to post, or otherwise see if she can come up with something to post so people understand. But yeah, we like I said in the last COW meeting, special council meeting, I signed the agreement. They asked if they can use it, and we're having voting right across the way here. We've confirmed that. So we'll get something. With that said, we'll make sure we get something on our webpage and our Facebook page relating to that. Have a call first. Maybe they might even have something that they put out or something,
Right.
pertaining to that glitch or whatever that we can post. Any other business?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
To read the council report, the recreation report now or later?
Yeah, you could read that in the council meeting.
Okay.
Any other business before we adjourn and then have our regular council meeting? Can I have a motion for adjournment from the COW meeting?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the COW meeting of September, what's today?
15.
2020.
Second.
Okay, vote on the motion.
Councilwoman
Seconded by Denny.
Brother Miller,
Yes.
Councilman Linville,
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Chulowski,
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel,
Yes.
Councilman Weed.
Yes.
COW meeting adjourned at 8:25 p.m. Does anybody need to grab something or anything? You want to go right into ready to go right into the council meeting? Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome everybody into our regular council meeting of Tuesday, September 15th at 2020 at 8:26 p.m. This meeting is being live streamed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We are following substitute House Bill 197 provisions that relate to public meetings and hearings during the COVID-19 pandemic. We've called everything to order. Second item, Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to take a moment of silence for our deceased residents, Mr. James Conway, Edward Lazen, Myrna Goodson White, George Latoughton, Carol Mancini, Olga Mason, Doris Pankeris, and Robert Ville. And also, a moment of silence for all our first responders too. Did you have somebody to add to that? Oh, I'm sorry, and Mary Lou Fulton. Moment of silence, please. Thank you. Roll call?
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Here.
Councilman Linville.
Present.
Councilwoman Allen.
Here.
Councilwoman Trulowski. Here. Councilman Spitznagel.
Here.
Councilman Weed.
Present.
All council here present, along with our tax administrator accountant, Angela Reve, and our law solicitor, John Montel. Can I get a motion to approve the special council meeting minutes from September 1st, 2020?
I'd like to make a motion that the minutes for the September 1st, 2020 COW and special council meeting be approved at this time.
Just the council meetings, Mr.
Just the
Bishop.
council meeting.
Second.
Second by Mr. Weed.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Trulowski. Yes. Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Weed.
Yes.
Minutes approved. Thank you. Have the mayor's report here. Okay. Have the court report here, monthly court report for August 2020. Current period is $15,975. Our year-to-date is $127,808. Year-to-date last year was $194,535.69. So roughly about $67,000 difference between last year and this year. I think I sent you guys, I've been sending you that whole report because, yes, I will. Nancy's been giving us a little more of an update too, as you see. Okay, for the month of August 2020, the police report, okay. The Village of Walton Hills Police Department issued 139 citations in the month of August. The predominant violation was speeding with 48 citations, followed by 11 citations written for driving under suspension and 7 citations for expired plates. There were 2 arrests for driving while under the influence of alcohol and drugs. So that's court reports and the police report.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Jen.
Angela, could I ask you for a hard copy of those? I could not open up those reports
Yeah, I
at home.
actually have the mayor send them to me because nobody sends those to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to let everybody know to send them to me now too.
All right, thank you.
Got it, I will get it.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
We could, before you leave, we could probably give you a hard time.
Yeah, I just started, as you know, started sending those, which is good, because we read them off, but I don't know why, might as well send them to you too, because that way you can have it. So that's, I think it's like the 3rd or 4th month. So I'll make sure get you on the list there. Anybody on there, any residents have any
No
comments related
yeah,
to the
there's
agenda?
no comments.
Okay. Do we want to move, we'll move on to the legislation?
Comments, I
You want comments
believe.
related to
Lori
the-
wanted to make comments.
Oh, did you? Who wanted to make a
For
comment?
the agenda.
Lori.
I'm sorry.
Laura was gonna do her rep report.
Would you like me to read?
Yeah, you can do that right now. You can do it now or other business. You can do it right now, Lori.
This is the Recreation Department report for September 2020. Our senior lunch in August was a huge success with 73 people registered for lunch. We are currently taking reservations for the next senior lunch on September the 28th. The October luncheon will be on Monday, October 26th, and we'll be serving stuffed cabbage, mashed potatoes, buttered corn, and French silk pie for dessert. Are you hungry yet?
Getting hungry.
We hope to be able to have our lunch at the event center, but at the very least, we will continue to have the drive-through lunch. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we have postponed the Fall Fest and Hayride to next year. The Board of Health is not sure yet if Halloween will be canceled, so we decided to plan a small event within the Board of Health guidelines for the community. The new event is the Fall Family Fun Day to be held on Sunday, October 11th from noon to 4 p.m. at T.G. Young Park. We will have to wear masks if walking around and keeping 6 feet distance. We'll be posting signs with this message at the park. It will only be advertised in the journal for the residents who feel comfortable in attending. At this event, we will have a few food trucks available for anyone who wants to purchase food while watching the Cavalier Band play community music. We will have some activities for the kids. We plan to give the kids that pre-register for the Recreation Department a bag of candy for Halloween in case it is canceled. If it rains on October 11th, this event will be canceled and not rescheduled. If we then give our candy to all children who pre-registered for this event on Friday, October 30th, beginning at 6 p.m. Room rentals are still going on, but we still are getting some cancellations due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Very slow right now, and most of the bookings are for next year. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And with that said about that event, I know they have in the journal, Natalie and Carlene have really been kind of really working hard and looking at that because we're very concerned. We want to do something that is, of course, within the guidelines of the governor's orders, but at the same time, something that's good for the residents. Some communities have been having outdoor concerts with spacing, and they've been going very well with a food truck there and keeping the spacing, and that's been well received. So that's what they're talking about. It's a country band. They're talking about that, but then there's concern about the kids, and there is some inflatable companies that allow them, and they clean in between. So the point I just wanted to make is the concern about it is having something nice, but at the same time, keeping everybody safe. And I know that's council's concern here, that's my concern, the administration's concern, but at the same time, we know it's important. Actually, a lot of communities are looking to do something similar because, Halloween is, kind of an event. It's definitely a kid's event, it's a very social event, it's an adult event too, and so there's a lot of concern. So I just wanted, I know Gloria's been talking to Natalie, that it's important that just the residents to know, and when we look at these things, and Carlene and Natalie look at these things along with the administration and council here, the safety of the residents and the children is everyone's concern too. So it's not just a matter of throwing something together. So that's why it would be outside where they can maintain distancing. So they've been really, and it's a great thing, and I love the energy there because it was like the Parker program. There was a lot that went into that to keep everybody safe, and it turned out to be a very good success. And the kids need that. They need to be outside. They need to do it, but at the same time, we have to be aware of maintaining safety for everybody. So I just kind of wanted to give that little speech to all of us and to think, because what I have shared, because I think it would be what this body would share, is we need to be comfortable with what we do and feel we're doing, safety's number one. If we're not safe with it, it's not going to happen. And Carlene and very aware of that. Okay, yep, so, but it's, I think they're gonna pull something off, which would be nice if we got the part. We would just need a nice day. But if the day doesn't cooperate, then it would just be canceled.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I would just like to say, Natalie and Carlene are always trying to find something that, that can be fun and that, but safety is number one. And I would like to mention Fred Reza. He is the driver that goes.
Oh, that's-
And Fred that man's a saint, let me tell you. You could ask any of the seniors. I mean, he goes above board to help, to go and shop for them, to, take them to a place that they have to go. And I haven't been on a trip in quite a while because of all of this, but you know what? Every window is washed on that van when those seniors go out. It's nice to look through a clean window when you're going somewhere. That bus is swept every time after, the trip and that. That's just the way he is, he wants it nice for the people. And I think kind of goes unsaid, we always think of Natalie and Carlene, but, the drivers.
Louise too. They do a great job.
These are wonderful, wonderful people. When they're not driving, they're in there helping in the community center, doing things there. So, just like to recognize them for the job that they do for the seniors here. All of them in the department. We've got a great recreation.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Gloria, because that is very true for the drivers, for Louise and Fred, especially during these times here. They have been taking more people shopping or even picking up groceries for them because they're, some people are uncomfortable leaving due to the pandemic, and not once, I know they're always asked, are you comfortable, are you okay? And I think there's more dedication there than anything. It certainly isn't about the money, it's about the dedication and how they feel towards helping our residents and providing a good service. And it's definitely been really good. I mean, we have been very fortunate that we have maintained a lot for our seniors, even just the drive-through lunch.
Right.
It's been well received. All of us here have talked about it. Also gives them a chance to put their eyes on some of the seniors who normally would come out. At least you're getting an idea to see them. And then the drivers are taking some meals. There is some meals that are being dropped off at the house, which also gives another chance for that driver to put their eyes on some of our seniors and just say, hey, how are you doing? Even if it's, they just put it by the door and they come and get it, they wave to them. At least you know they're doing okay. So hopefully we'll be able to have that event, have a nice day with that said. So that's kind of what they got in the works. It's a lot harder to coordinate, making sure, but we have the space, and that's the plus. We have the space up there, and with that, and I think it will have a good success if it happens. What do you say? Anything else under? That was the report. We can move on to legislation. John, you just want to just introduce the legislation, we can ask who.
Okay, we have resolution number 2020-16, authorizing the mayor and the fiscal officer of the village to enter into a contract with Fabrizi Trucking and Paving Company Incorporated for the reconstruction of Dunham Road and Tinkers Creek Road and declaring an emergency.
Who would like to introduce that?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Jennifer.
I'd like to introduce that
For suspension?
for suspension.
Okay. All right. Item B, legislation.
2020-17, resolution 2020-17, authorizing the mayor and the fiscal officer of the village to enter into a contract with NES Corp. For the 2020 asphalt road repair program and declaring an emergency.
Who would like to introduce that?
I'll do it, Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Linville?
For suspension.
For suspension, correct that.
2020-17,
just for some clarification for the residents, even though they might be under suspension, all these items here, except for the snow plowing, have been talked about in numerous COW meetings and have been talked about. We just didn't receive the bids yet and didn't have the bids open, so we couldn't put them on for legislation. So it's not uncommon, but we talked about them a lot, we had them out there, so it's not uncommon to pass them under suspension because of that reason. But it's certainly not the first time we looked at any of these.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
I'd just like to say too, we want to pass this for suspension so we can get these projects started as quickly as possible,
that is correct.
especially with this time of year and moving into the fall season.
That is correct. Item C, Mr. Montalvo?
Thank you. Resolution number 2020-18, authorizing the mayor and the fiscal officer of the village to enter into a contract with C.A. Agresta Construction Company for the 2020 concrete road repair program and declaring an emergency.
Who would like to introduce that?
Hey.
Mary?
There, sorry.
Oh, Mary.
Okay. Item D, Mr. Montalvo?
Resolution number 2020-19, authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Sharpscapes, Inc. to provide snow plowing services for the village's senior or handicapped resident program and declaring an emergency.
Who would like to introduce that?
I can do that, Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Spitznagel?
Suspension.
For suspension, yes. Okay, and I think we have one more left there.
It would be,
Mr. Montello?
yes, sir, 2020-20, a resolution affirming the Planning Commission decision approving a right-of-way dedication plat at the intersection of Northfield Road, State Route 8, and Alexander, authorizing the mayor to sign said plat on behalf of the village and declaring an emergency.
Mayor Colgraf, I'd like to introduce that
Okay, for suspension?
for suspension.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
is it fair to say that the resolution for the right-of-way for suspension is because of possible economic development?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to, so people understood, there is potentially economic development that will be going on, and that being passed as quickly as possible will help that to possibly move along.
And that did drive some importance of that and getting into planning commission and stuff, correct? Because if not, we own the property, we can think, but getting that out there, yes. That definitely is a very true statement. Okay, well, you know what we didn't do? We didn't do council coffees. That's what we did. But we had a COW meeting, we talked about, I'm just saying, that was.
What's missing?
We're missing something.
Yeah.
We did do
You know, we
a little
got
different.
so caught up in the special council meetings, it doesn't matter. Can we start with, who would like to introduce, or can we introduce? Can I
Mr.
get someone to introduce?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like
Yes.
to introduce Resolution 2020-16, the Dunham Road Reconstruction Project for suspension.
Is there a second?
Second?
Jennifer, maybe have you read the first, is there,
A resolution authorizing
Right.
the mayor and fiscal officer of the Village of Walton Hills to enter into a contract with Fabrizi Trucking and Paving Company Incorporated for the reconstruction of Dunham Road and Tinkers Creek Road and declaring an emergency.
is there a second yet?
Second.
Who got it?
I'm giving it to Linville, he did it 2 times. That's a Linville, he's our
Okay.
second.
You got the second.
You got the second on that. Because you chimed in twice there, so we're good.
Vote on the
I didn't
suspension.
know it was a race.
Vote on the suspension.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller,
Yes.
Councilman Linville,
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Chilowski,
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel,
Yes.
Councilman Weed.
Yes.
Okay, suspension 6-0.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask for adoption of Resolution 2020-16.
Second.
Second, vote on the adoption.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Churlowski.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Weed.
Yes.
Okay, legislation passed, 6-0. Thank you, everybody. Item B. Denny, would you like to introduce resolution?
Mayor, I'd like to introduce for suspension Resolution 2020-17.
Second.
Whoa, you gotta read it.
Sorry.
Resolution authorizing the mayor and the fiscal officer of the Village of Walton Hills to enter into a contract with NES Corporation for the 2020 asphalt road program, repair program, and declaring an emergency.
Second.
Second by Jennifer.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Churlowski.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Weed.
Yes.
Mayor, at this time, I'd like to ask for approval of resolution number 2020-17.
Second.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Churlowski.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Weed.
Yes.
Suspension passed and the resolution passed 6-0. Thank you, everybody. Item C.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to introduce for suspension Resolution 2020-18, a resolution authorizing the mayor and the fiscal officer of the Village of Walton Hills to enter into a contract with CA Aggressor Construction Company for the 2020 concrete road repair program and declaring an emergency.
For suspension, correct?
Yes, I said for
Okay.
suspension.
Second on the suspension?
Second.
Second by Gloria. Vote on suspension.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Churlowski.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Weed.
Yes.
6-0, suspension passed.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask for adoption of Resolution 2020-18.
Second.
Second by Gloria.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Churlowski.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Weed.
Yes.
Okay. Approval passed. Resolution 2020-18 passed, 6-0. Item D.
Mayor, I'd like to ask for suspension for resolution number 2020-19, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Sharpscapes Incorporated to provide snow plowing services for the village's senior or handicapped resident snow plowing program and declaring an emergency.
Second.
Second by Mr. Weed.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Churlowski.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Weed.
Yes.
Suspension passed.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask for adoption of resolution 2020-19.
Second.
Second by Mary. Brenner.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Churlowski.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Weed.
Yes.
Resolution 2020-19 approved, 6-0. Item E.
Mayor Colgraf, members of council, I'm introducing resolution number 2020-20, a resolution for suspension, a resolution affirming the Planning Commission decision approving a right-of-way dedication plat at the intersection of Northville Road, State Route 8, and Alexander, authorizing the mayor to sign said plat on behalf of the village and declaring an emergency.
Second.
Second on suspension. Vote on suspension.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Churlowski.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Weed.
Yes.
Suspension passed, 6-0.
Mayor Colgraf and members of council, I would like to ask for adoption of resolution 2020-20.
Second.
Second by Mary. Brenner Miller.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Churlowski.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Weed.
Yes.
Okay, resolution 2020-20 passed 6-0. Thank you, everybody. Any old or new business? Okay, can I ask for a motion for adjournment?
Mr. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the regular council meeting of Tuesday, September 15th, 2020.
Second?
Vote on the motion.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller?
Yes.
Councilman Linville?
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Chirlowski?
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Weed.
Yes.
Council meeting adjourned at 8:52.
Any questions? Any comments?
Any
Nope,
comments?
no questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a nice week, what's left,